And a very pleasant good afternoon to our Alathus Facebook family and friends. Welcome into the Spotlight, sponsored by Alathus Live. If you are in the market for buying or selling your home, give us a call, 479-968-5668, or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. Our guest today is a hero of mine, a mentor of mine, one of the guys responsible for getting me into the radio business, and a legend in his own right. I bring you the voice of Arkansas Tech University, Mr. Sam Strasner. Sam, how are you, my friend?
Well, I am doing quite well, Drew. Thank you very much for inviting me in. I look forward to the conversation.
Sam, this show is all about talking well of the community, speaking highly of the community, and we couldn't talk about how well this community is doing without talking about Arkansas Tech University. Kind of take us through the last year or so, navigating the pandemic, and hopefully, we're praying coming out of that and what Arkansas Tech looks like now.
Well, it has, without question, been one of the more challenging periods in the 112-year history of Arkansas Tech University. In about mid-March of 2020, when the pandemic arrived in Arkansas, the decision was made to transition all of our classes and the majority of our operations, all that could be, to a virtual environment. Our instructors, our faculty members, picked up their assorted knowledge and took it home with them and began teaching their classes over a variety of different technological resources. Our students began learning that way, and those of us in support roles at the university began carrying out our functions from home. And that's how we proceeded throughout the spring semester, and in many cases continue to operate in that way. There has been a slow transition back to some on-campus operations. We were grateful that beginning with the fall 2020 semester, we were able to start having some in-person classes, and some of our personnel started moving back to campus on a daily basis, at least carrying out some of their functions from the physical location on campus. And that's been a welcome change throughout this academic year and made it feel a little more normal. But still, even at that, only about 25% of our classes at Arkansas Tech University during this current academic year, the 2020-21 academic year, have been offered in person. And then there's about another 25% that have been exclusively online. And then there's another group, about the other remaining 50% have been a hybrid model where, for instance, if a classroom has a social distancing limit of 20 people and there's 40 people in that class, well, if it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, it might be that on Monday you came in and received the curriculum in person, and then on Wednesday you might have received it through distance technology, and the other half of the class just switch out on that routine. But that model has been effective in allowing some in-person instruction while also maintaining that social distancing that has been so important, along with the face coverings. And really, that's been probably the biggest story of the pandemic at Arkansas Tech has been the remarkable fashion with which our faculty and our staff and our students have been able to adhere to those safety guidelines. We've been able to keep our case numbers under control. We had just maybe two brief spikes during the fall 2020 semester, but otherwise we've been able to keep our active case numbers at any time at 20 or less. And for over a month now, we've been under 5 active cases at any given time. And so there's definitely progress being made. And as we look ahead to fall 2021, we are optimistic that we'll be able to start to look and sound and feel like Arkansas Tech again come August.
And I think that's the hope across the city. I know that we've talked about it before on this show that the pandemic across the board was, and I hate to use this word because it's so played out, but unprecedented. The importance, however, of navigating those waters has been, paramount, especially to trying to continue the normalcy of the student experience, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the opportunities that we have at Arkansas Tech University and throughout our community is to look at some of the things that we were forced to do during the pandemic and decide what are some of those that we can carry forward, maybe transform and modify a little bit, and still be able to use to our advantage moving forward. I know one of the things at Arkansas Tech University is we have a much higher degree of confidence and a much higher degree of ability to deliver curriculum online now. And so that will allow us to serve an even greater diversity of students, both in terms of geography and age and everything else. We'll be able to reach a much wider audience through having that enhanced ability to deliver curriculum online that we were kind of forced to do on the fly, but now, after more than a year of doing so, have a much greater aptitude in that field, and looking forward to spinning that advantage forward in the fall 2021 semester and beyond. And I have no doubt that there are other efficiencies and different ways of conducting business that have been experienced throughout our community over these last 15 months that will continue to benefit us moving forward.
Sam Strasner is joining us, Arkansas Tech University, live here on the Spotlight. If you're interested in buying or selling your home, you can give us a call, 479-968-5668. If you've got a question for Sam, he is a walking encyclopedia of Arkansas technology. You can drop a question here in the comments section below, and I believe I got that description right, didn't I, Sam?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I will answer to anything.
Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about something a little bit more normal. Let's talk about sports. You are next year walking into your 20th season as the voice of the Wonder Boys, the Golden Sons of Arkansas Tech University. First off, does it feel like 20 years?
Not at all. It feels like it has gone by so quickly, and so many great memories over those years, and just really grateful for all of the coaches and student athletes. They're the ones that put in those long hours that the rest of us don't see in training and conditioning and practicing to represent Arkansas Tech in such an outstanding fashion. And it's just been my privilege for these years to be able to share their story and some of their achievements and really just enjoy their successes with them.
You know, it seems strange to me right now in the current state of athletics when it comes to basketball and football, and I'll tell you why. When I was in college, Kyle Shipp was a student, Mark Downey was the coach, and Dave Wilbers had just come on. 15 years later, Kyle Shipp's the head coach, Mark Downey's the head coach again, and Dave Wilbers is still here. The more things change, the more they stay the same, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And those three gentlemen, you could go to any university in the country and not find three head coaches for those sports or really any other sport that are more committed to student athlete success in every area. First and foremost, as students, making sure that those young men and young women have the opportunity to pursue and attain their college degrees. And all three of them make a very serious commitment to that on a daily basis. But just the way in which they lead the young people that are under their charge is something that I'm really proud of. I'm proud to know them and to work with them. And what a tremendous job all three of them have done at Arkansas Tech. And what a tremendous amount of success awaits us in the future at Arkansas Tech as a result of their efforts and the way that they're able to recruit student athletes that fit their systems, fit their programs, and are ready to compete not only in the Great American Conference, but at a national level in NCAA Division II.
You know, I wanted to share a quick story with you about Mark Downey. Back in 2006, 2007, do you remember Gert the Penguin?
Yes, I do. I do recall Gert.
Joey Potts and I would bring Gert into Tucker Coliseum when Coach Downey was coaching there, and there'd be a student section of, I mean, sometimes there'd be 15, 20 of us there on the home games. Every single home game afterwards, we would go and eat Razorback pizza because it was over here on, I guess, South Arkansas at the time. Coach Downey got wind of this, came to the pizza place without us knowing, paid for everybody's food to thank us for being students. And thank us for being supportive of Tech athletics. That happened 15 years ago, and it stuck with me. It just speaks to the character of the people we have at Arkansas Tech.
Oh, absolutely. That does not surprise me at all. Coach Downey is one of those people who understands that it takes a large community of folks to make a program successful, and he has always really done a great job of making a lot of folks feel very included in the success of his program. And as he goes into year two of his second phase, very excited. Some recent news that's been out there about some Russellville High School graduates that'll be joining his program next year. I think that'll really be beneficial from a local interest and support standpoint, and looking forward to that group of young men growing and developing together over the next few years and getting Wonder Boys basketball back to the level where I think we all believe it can and should be.
And where it should be, absolutely. We're talking to Sam Strasner here on the Spotlight. Sam, I had Johnny Story on the program a few weeks back, and we couldn't help but talk a little bit about the radio side of Russellville, the broadcasting side of Russellville. I asked him this question. I'm going to ask it to you too. How many pages of a book do you think you could fill with the number of big name broadcasters in the state of Arkansas that have passed through this city?
Oh goodness, it is a who's who. And you know, the great thing about it though is I think the biggest of those names, we're very fortunate that several of them chose to set down roots right here in our Russellville community and continue to benefit us to this day. When you talk about Johnny's story, he is Mr. Russellville. You described me earlier some kind of thing about a walking encyclopedia of Arkansas Tech. Well, Johnny is Arkansas Tech and the whole community that surrounds it. He knows everything that has happened here for longer than even he's been around. And so what a tremendous resource Johnny's story is to this community. Those of us of a certain age remember waiting anxiously for his voice over the radio. That was the only way to find out back in my day if school was out due to snow.
Yep.
And so he delivered that news on many occasions. And then back when, before the internet, when information about severe weather situations was not as relevant or not as readily available, it was Johnny's voice that we counted on then and continue to count on it today. And then when you talk about Tom Kammerling, who gave so many decades of service in the radio industry and now continues, as a matter of fact, this is his 50th anniversary of working with Arkansas Tech Athletics. He's still the public address announcer at Arkansas Tech basketball and football and some softball games. And so 50 years with Arkansas Tech Athletics for Tom Kammerling, in addition to everything he's done with the radio. And then the late Dee Doyle, another example of that.
Yes.
Someone we lost just a few years ago, but Dee, a legend in play-by-play in this community and in radio news, and someone that we definitely fondly remember. And those three guys and so many others that have contributed in that way to our community, that really helps bind us together as the people of Russellville and the Arkansas River Valley, gives us that common source of information to know what's going on here and make our own decisions about what the meaning of that might be. But those three guys have done such a great job and did such a great job in their careers, and thankful for all of them and many others.
And we should point out, too, when you're mentioning Dee Doyle as one of the top play-by-play folks that ever come through the city of Russellville, two Dardanelle guys who spent 30 years behind the mic, and Kent Talent and Mark Thone retiring this season. I mean, we have been blessed with some great voices.
Oh, absolutely. Just people that really, they do it because they love it and because they see value in it. And I think for a lot of them, it's probably the same reason that I do it. Just have so much respect for the efforts of those young people, kind of at one of the most important seasons of their life as they're getting a chance to pursue their athletic pursuits, and really want to support them. And we understand the amount of effort that they put into it and want to make sure that that much effort is put into sharing their stories and promoting them and publicizing them and just rallying the community behind their efforts, and what a powerful force that can be at a university or at a high school or in a community.
Talk about some of those moments that you've had as a broadcaster. I think that every person who has ever done play-by-play can remember that game or that moment, or the opposite of everything went wrong in a single broadcast. What stories do you have?
Well, probably my favorite day was the 2010 Gulf South Conference tournament in South Haven, Mississippi. It was a doubleheader that day, and Arkansas Tech was in both championship games. The first game was a double overtime game, and Arkansas Tech defeated Delta State 75-73, and finally got that off their backs of having been kept down by Delta State's women's basketball program for a number of years, had fallen to them in that championship game on a number of occasions, and to finally get over that hump and defeat the Lady Statesmen, one of the most storied programs in the history of women's college basketball. That was such a tremendous achievement for our Golden Suns. And then so get through the drama and the energy and the emotion of that double overtime win over Delta State, and then turn around and the Wonder Boys are in the championship game of the men's side in the second half of the doubleheader against Alabama Huntsville, and it looked like that was going to be a little bit easier. The Wonder Boys built a big lead, and then here comes Alabama Huntsville, took the lead, and it took a three-pointer by Russellville's own Marcus Pillow with about 11 seconds left to win that game, followed by a blocked shot on the other end by Irvin Humphrey, who has made great contributions to our state since then with Special Olympics, one of many out of the Mark Downey's program that have gone on to do great things in our community. But just that day of that double overtime win for the Golden Suns, and then the win by the Wonder Boys in dramatic fashion, and bringing home two championships. And when we got back to Russellville, somebody had draped a big sheet over the welcome sign on campus and said Titletown, USA, Russellville, Arkansas, because had the Gulf South Conference championships in both men's and women's basketball. So that was definitely a memorable day from a positive standpoint. Probably the most challenging day was, I can't even remember the year, but my friend and broadcast partner Kelly Davis and I were calling a game from Northeastern State, a football game, and I had some severe weather that night in the area there in Tahlequah, and quite a bit of rain, so much so that the booth that Kelly and I were broadcasting from, the roof caved in from the weight of the water.
Oh my Lord.
And we were able to relocate to a different position. And luckily, the equipment didn't get totally fried. It kind of got zapped by some lightning, so the equipment all got knocked out. And we called the rest of the game by passing a telephone, old-fashioned telephone, back and forth. But that was probably the most challenging night. But clearly one that you always remember. I guess it falls into the category of if you survive it, it only makes you stronger.
You know, I was going to tell the story of when I did play-by-play for the GAC soccer championship several years ago. The broadcast position that they put us on, and I think this was out in Ada, Oklahoma. And they put us on top of the sports complex, Sam. And right before they're supposed to start, it just starts pouring. I mean, we have no rain ponchos. We've got nothing. We're hiding the mics underneath our shirts, just trying to, because they wanted to do a live two-shot. Couldn't do the two-shot. You could hear the rain smacking the microphone. And yet your story of caving in a press box, you're going to take the cake on that, aren't you?
That one is hard to top. But I had a very similar experience to yours back in 2004. The Wonder Boys won their first round playoff game in the NCAA Division II football playoffs and went on to Georgia to compete at Albany State in the second round of the playoffs that year. And they were still in the process of completing a renovation and a reconstruction of the press box there. And there was one booth available for the visitors. And I very quickly made the decision that the coaching staff was a little bit more important than me. And so I said, you guys are taking that booth and I'm going up on the roof. And all I can say is I'm very, very glad that I asked the concession stand. I kind of looked at the weather and then the clouds, and I asked the concession stand if they had an extra garbage bag because I was able to slide the radio equipment into that garbage bag, and that's the only thing that protected it from the absolute downpour that ensued throughout the first half of that game, which was further made worse by the fact that Albany State was well in control of the game by halftime. So that was kind of a long day.
So you're sitting in the pouring rain, calling a game, trying to make it sound as good as you possibly can. You don't get initiated into the play-by-play world until you have at least two of those kinds of games. So you're on the team, Sam.
Glad to be there.
We're talking to Sam Strasner of Arkansas Tech, wrapping things up. Sam, I want to go back to Arkansas Tech just a few moments. You know, as we're moving out of the spring semester into the summer terms and into the fall, what can we expect coming up in the next few semesters? And tell the folks who are possibly moving here why Arkansas Tech University is the place to be.
Well, there is such an extraordinary tie between Arkansas Tech University and this community. The founding date of Arkansas Tech was April 1st of 1909, but it wasn't until the next year that it was decided where Arkansas Tech, as we now know it was then the 2nd District Agricultural School, but the Arkansas Tech that we know today, there was a lot of question as to which community, kind of in the Arkansas River Valley corridor, that it would be located. And it was the people of Russellville, Judge R.B. Wilson to be exact, who stepped forward. And there was a new dam that had been constructed out north of town, and that was going to make electricity and water service more readily available to the community. And knowing that, Judge Wilson tacked on an addendum to his offer to the Board of Trustees, saying that if you'll bring the 2nd District Agricultural School to Russellville, that we will promise that the school will have free lights and water for 3 years. And that's what tipped the balance and brought the 2nd District Agricultural School to Russellville, and it's why Arkansas Tech University is here today. And so it was that investment by the community that brought Arkansas Tech here, and it's that collaboration with the community that continues to make Arkansas Tech strong today. Numerous initiatives, including the March to Maine at the beginning of each year, the Paint the Town Green and Gold event. Throughout the year, all of the different events that Arkansas Tech hosts with the community to really enhance the quality of life here are so important. And it's so important to Arkansas Tech to have a strong and vibrant Russellville as we look at not only recruiting students, it's a huge role in that the students, when they come here on their visit, they don't just want to see campus. They want to go around and see, where am I going to be able to go out for a meal to eat? Where am I going to be able to go and shop? What are going to be my prospects for recreational activity? And goodness, we have a whole bunch of those here in this community. And so they want to see all of that whenever they come here, but also it carries over to the faculty and staff side. We want to be able to recruit the very best faculty and staff to educate and care for and nurture those students once they get here. And the background and the backdrop that we're provided here in this Russellville community allows us to be able to go and bring some really of the top shelf people into this community as students and faculty and staff. And so it ends up being a mutually beneficial relationship between Arkansas Tech University and the city of Russellville, and one that we seek to continue to foster and grow as we move forward, because it definitely ends up benefiting all of us that have chosen to build our lives and raise our families here in Russellville.
Sam Strasner, Arkansas Tech University, 20 years next year. What are you going to do to celebrate?
I will continue to harass my good friend and broadcast partner, Kelly Davis, and make jokes about the fact that he's 20 years older than me.
The Hall of Famer, Kelly Davis.
Yes, the one and only.
He should. Is he a sports Hall of Famer yet? Because if he's not, I'm starting that petition.
Let's do it right here.
I'm game. Let's do it. Sam, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. I would like to make sure that everybody catches us tomorrow. We have another big name guest, as Mayor Richard Harris will be stopping by to talk about the community at large. On Friday, the 2020 Citizen of the Year, Jimmy Street, will be on hand. And then on Monday, Dardanelle Mayor Jimmy Witt has some thoughts about the upcoming Yell Fest event next weekend. So Sam, if the little one and the wife are looking for anything to do, Yell Fest coming up next weekend.
Over in the free state of Yale, there's no better time.
Sam, thanks so much, and thank you very much for joining us here on The Spotlight today. Remember, if you're interested in buying or selling your home, give us a call at 968-5668. We'll see you right back here with Mayor Richard Harris tomorrow at 3. Have a good day, everybody.